Sir, our second railway minister, N. Gopalaswamy Iyengar from Tamil Nadu, he had a big idea, a great idea, which has been sustained now for 60, 70 years. He came up with the idea of railway zones. It was not there before that, sir. After that, another great big idea which has sustained over 5, 6 decades is Madhu Dandavatiji, where instead of the sleepers just being of wood, he thought we should put cushions there, and that makes such a difference to the common people who were traveling. That was a great idea which has sustained the test of time. Nitish Kumarji had a Tatkal scheme. Lalu Prasad Yadavji had the wonderful Garib Rath scheme, which was his big idea. Mamata Banerjee had a Vision 2020 document, which we'll come to later. The Duronto Express, the Izzat Pass, for those below the poverty line. I want to ask this government, from 2014 to 2021, what's their one big idea which will sustain the test of time 10 years, 20 years from now? Oh, why one? They'll tell me they've got 5, 6, 7. So let's go one at a time. Vande Bharat Express. The Vande Bharat Express, the cost of a ticket is 1,500 to 3,000 rupees, somewhere in that range. This is your big idea, and you're entitled to it. Keep it. Because your outlook on the railways is different from the Trinamool Congress and many other parties' outlook on the railways. For us, the railways constitute the infrastructure for the fundamental right of every Indian citizen to move from point A to point B. It's a fundamental right as far as transport goes. You may look at it differently, we don't. So much for your Vande Bharat. Let's come to your second so-called big idea, 2017. Subsume the railway budget into the general budget. We objected to it that time, we object to it now. Former railway minister, now Chief Minister of Bengal, said, quote, this will damage the very core of the transport system. What is this subsume which has happened? Tell us. LIC, you said 1.5 lakh crores. My direct questions, please address it in your answer. Why was only 30,000 crores been given? What happened after the first tranche? Why no further funding? Tell us about the methodology of funding. Tell us about LIC interest rates. Tell us about repayment issues. Address these in your answer. We'll be happy to know. Your third idea. As I said, your big idea will never be in tune with our idea because your outlook to the railways is different and our outlook is different. Fundamental right of movement. Your third big idea is the train from Mumbai to Ahmedabad, call it superfast, call it bullet. We feel, nothing wrong with the bullet train maybe at some later stage, to make that bullet train cost you about 200 crores a kilometer. Our priority would have been the dedicated freight corridor for sabzi, for chawal, for gram, for everything else at 25 crore kilometers a kilometer. 200 crores, 25 kilometers. I understand, and I'll say this on the floor of the House, that bullet train is your vanity project. But since we're talking about big ideas, let's talk about some of those ideas which were promised in 2022. And we are all so eagerly looking forward to farmer income will double, 2022. Bullet train will come, 2022. 5 trillion economy, 2022. Water and toilet in every home, 2022. Electricity for all, 2022. Sir, for those of you who want to bring these high-speed trains, nothing against high-speed trains, but think of a little railway station called Kitham. It's a small town in Uttar Pradesh. Every day, 96 trains whiz past Kitham on the New Delhi-Agra route. Rakesh Jadhav, Rakesh, if he was to want to take a train, he would have to take the Agra-Delhi passenger, which doesn't run on Sundays, and the average speed of those trains is 30 kilometers an hour. Your priority, our priority. Now let's come to your next big idea. I want to ask you, sir, since we think it's a fundamental right of travel, who told you to shut the railway network down in 4 hours before COVID? This is a precious resource of our country. You misuse that resource. 120 lakh passengers travel long distance in the railway. Just look at this number, 120 lakh. Imagine you had COVID restrictions, you cut the number down to 60 lakh. Instead of saying 4 hours, keep it open for 5 days, you would not have had the migrant crisis. You would not have had the migrant crisis, sir. And those videos from Muzaffarpur railway station, I don't want to remind you of that, of the little child with the dead mother covered, because yesterday, day before yesterday, was 2 years of that anniversary of clanging, which... So these are your big ideas, sir. Private trains. You'll say, this is my big idea. Let's ask you some questions on private trains. Tejas trains halted 8 months later. 2021, we are told, dozens of companies filed tenders. Whenever there are RTI activists, and RTI activism is part of our democracy, whenever they write to railway boards, no data available. What is the communication for these private trains? Sir, there was empowered group of secretaries which were set up by the railway ministry. How many meetings have they had? Share with MPs what was discussed at those meetings. So your next big idea, you say, is federalism. I can give you 12, 13 projects in Bengal. Everyone will have their own states, where the allocation for that is 1,000 crores for the year. Whenever there's a problem with the railway work, they'll say state government land acquisition. There are so many other examples to give you, but I thought the real good one is beyond Bengal. It is for the Southern Railway. And this is from the Pink Book. Now the Pink Book, which used to come out on the day of the railway budget, I know this subject a little. It takes you weeks to calculate. So after some calculations, Southern Railways got less than 400 crores last 4 years. The Northern Railways, if you add it up, comes to about 30,000 crores. So I'm not getting into the numbers, but conceptually, we talk so much about federalism, but where is the federalism? I can go state by state, sir. So I urge this ministry, since you have a full railway department. Of course, the joke here was that some people were saying that we first discussed the Northeast Ministry, then we discussed the Scheduled Tribe Ministry. Third, I said, which ministry are you speaking on? So I said, now we are discussing the PMO. So I urge this ministry. They've got the numbers to share the percentage of what was the allocation in a state, in what percentage has that state been given its percentage. So these are your ideas.
Just a minute. Manish Shukla ji, please, back nahi karna aap. Please, you continue. Sir.
Maybe you had some big ideas about the Northeast which we missed. The Imphal railway station is still under construction. Sir, another big idea for the Northeast who can't afford expensive freights. Do consider, in a bigger way, to make the freight rates affordable in the Northeast. What steps has the government taken to tap the Trans-Asian network, sir, because there are many of those South Asian communities which are closer? Look at these as the big ideas, sir. Look at these as big ideas. Because as I said, your view on the railways and our view on the railways is different. I have a copy here of the vision document. You're following some of this, we're happy. I'm reading from the vision document which Mamata Banerjee was Chief Minister. Raising the speeds of passenger trains from 130 to 160 kilometers. Good, on track. Don't forget the regular trains. Railway should set up 50 world-class stations. Vision document 2010. Doing now, good. You've had a lot of experience, Railway Minister. first as a bureaucrat and then with Adla infrastructure. So these are all good experiences for you. And you said in the Lok Sabha, who does the railway track belong to? You said railways. Who does the stations belong to? Railways. Who owns the train coaches? Railways. Who owns the signaling system? Railways. Then why is there any talk of privatization here? I ask you, sir, who owns the airports? Mostly Government of India. Who owns the runways? Mostly Government of India. Who owns the air infrastructure? Mostly Government of India. Who sold Air India? So we think, sir, this government must look at focus differently. We will listen here to their 7 ideas, which are their great ideas. You compare those 7 ideas to what were previous done by the Railway Ministry, and then you look what touches the lives of people. Who is our audience? Who is our consumer? Because if you think your consumer, your co-consumer, is the passenger who gets on a train in Ahmedabad and has to reach Mumbai, no. Very good, do that. But don't forget who this railways is for. I will conclude by saying, please do remember, you're doing nobody a favor. And since we have 2-3 minutes time, sir, we have one more speaker. He will take 2 minutes after this. So I'll finish before time. Thank you, sir.
Thank you, Derek ji. Next speaker, Shrimati Priyanka.